Hey guys, happy Saturday. I hope your weekend is off to a great start. I wanted a quick pop on here. I'm about to go to the farmer's market and get some goodies for the next week, but I wanted to talk about the 5 reasons your life looks different than you thought. So I had a lot of fun putting this post together because I think there's a lot of reasons why, we think something and then 10 years from now, that's not what happens at all. But yeah, the blog post really talks about, and actually, I should say, the podcast episode because we are live on iTunes, we're live on Stitcher. And so this is episode 2, according to our podcast, which I'm really excited about because I do love a good, reason to talk into a microphone. But anyways, so I thought it was important because I was having some conversations with some fabulous females, and we were talking about how life looks different. Even though, oh, here come the dogs. Even though we, love our lives and we love what they look different than we thought. So the first reason was that you are really content with your life. You've found that you've hit your groove, you've got a great job, you travel a lot, you see lots of friends, you've got a great social life, and you're pretty much content. There are some things that you want to change in your life, but for the most part, you're happy and you're good to go. And so that could be a reason why your life looks different than you thought it would, but because you're actually content and you don't need more. You don't need the things that you thought you needed. The second reason we talk about is that you're paying off debt and it takes time. And I know this to be very much true. Actually, a few years ago, I really wanted to travel internationally and actually go live in China because I've traveled there a few times and I love it. But I couldn't. I had purchased what they call an investment property, and things were just going kind of wrong with it. And so I could not leave. And it was like a debt. It was something that was pretty much anchoring me here. So if you have anything like school debt or credit card debt, which I understand, that does anchor you. And sometimes you can't move forward in your life because you're paying it off. But I want to keep saying, keep going. It's so important to pay down that debt. And you're doing a great job because I know it's hard. I actually talk about in the podcast one of my favorite books of the moment. I always have a favorite book, and every book I probably say is my favorite that I talk about. But this one is called The Latte Factor by David Bach. And it's basically all about why you don't have to be rich to finish rich. And it's not a book about, what to do with your finances. It's a book about telling a story about a girl in her 20s that lives in New York City and is having a great time, a great life, loves her job at an ad agency, but really doesn't find the money to be able to set aside to travel on like a dream vacation or do something that she really wants to do. So it's a really good story about how to make it happen because it can happen for you, but you have to put focused attention toward it. Anyways, that was reason number 2, that debt sometimes can have us in one place at a time. Reason number 3 is that what you saw as a child isn't what you see for yourself anymore. And I think this is pretty common because, if you're, let's say, 29 and when you were a kid about 15 years ago, you might have seen all around you living in the suburbs, having a big house with 2 cars and your parents working both full time. And that might have felt like something you wanted in your life. But now that you're 29, you're thinking, no, I'm not going to do that for myself because it's not what I want. So I really do think a little bit of the American dream has changed. There was a great article in the New York Times about this a little while back, basically that a lot of folks are considering the American dream now being financially independent, which I think is really cool. That means that you could basically live off your savings and you don't need a full-time job. So that could be why your life looks different than you thought it would look, because you've just changed what you're interested in. Reason number 4 that your life looks different than you thought is that life seems to go by fast. So there's something that neuroscientists, call chunking. And so basically, as a child, when you grow up, things are changing all the time. You're growing, you're changing grades. You might be changing school from like elementary to middle school. You might literally move your family, so you change a location. And then, you're changing the sports that you're interested in. You're changing the school subjects that you're studying. Maybe your friends change. There's so much changing that life doesn't seem to go by that fast because you're, integrated in so many different things that it's interesting and new. But as an adult, what they call chunking to be is when, for a year or two, let's say you did buy that house, or it's a townhouse or a condo. So you're living in it and you're staying there, you're staying at your current job because you really like that. And things are pretty, what they call stable, quote unquote, you might have settled down a little bit. And life doesn't change that much for 2, 3, 5 years. And so that can feel like it's going by fast because you're tending to do the same things. You're driving the same way. You have the same commute. You might go out with the same friends for happy hours, watch games, stuff like that. And scientists say that your brain actually chunks that together. And so it doesn't feel like long periods of time because it's chunking it down and storing it almost like one memory, even though it was, 3 years. So you really do need to focus on what you want if that's where you are in your life and you feel like time is going fast. And number 5 is the 5th reason, basically, why your life is looking different than you thought it would, is because you're actually not planning. So a little bit what I was talking about time going fast is that you're not planning for what you want. So I'm sure everybody hears all the bloggers and the Instagrammers and whomever talk about your morning routine, which I'm actually trying to work on myself. I really want to write about this because it is hard. I'm finding this really hard. But what you want to do is plan out in the morning, what you want your life to look like in 2 years and 5 years and 10 years. Even if you're in your early 20s, this is great to do. If you're in your 50s, this is great to do. We have so much time now on our hands to create and accomplish cool stuff. We just really need to focus on it, because if not, things are distracting and will get in our way. So I talk about a few rules I have around planning because since I am a meeting and event planner, I love to plan. I basically plan all day, a plan about events and things. So it's easy for me to plan. I do link out a few planners that I absolutely love. One is by Michael Hyatt, and I'm using it. It's called the Full Focus Planner, and he actually has a journal that goes along with it. I use both of those right now. I like to change up my planners just to see, what I really do like. The next planner I'm going to try is Rachel Hollis. She has a Start Today planner. I haven't grabbed that one yet, but I talk about it a little because she lays out the top 10 things she wants in her life over the next 10 years, and she reads it over and over every day, which I totally love. And then I also link out about one of my favorites that I have finished. It's called the 5-Minute Journal, and I've actually gotten it from a store called Paper Source, which is in the DC area. It literally takes me like 3 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes right at night. And it's what to be grateful for, what would be amazing today if it happened. And then at night, of course, you reflect on what great things did happen and how you feel and how it could have been better, which I appreciate. And there's not much room to write, so you have to be pretty succinct, which I'm not always in my writing. Obviously, I like to just babble on, but it's a really good journal because it doesn't take you long to complete. And so you feel like, oh, I'm being productive, even at 10 p.m. at night when I'm finishing my journal for the day. But it really helps you reflect on what was really good. So overall, I talk about that a lot on the podcast, just all the 5 reasons. why your life looks different than you thought it would, which is totally fine. But there are some things you want to focus on if this resonates with you. And I do want to mention that, of course, my episodes are brought to us by the ebook Easy Breezy Egg Freezy, a girl's guide to deciding if egg freezing is right for you. And it's at eggfreezingbook.com. I felt really compelled to write this book because I didn't see anything out there that wasn't from a fertility center or, someone's point of view, like a celebrity, about why they froze their eggs. I really feel like the everyday individual can do this. But there were four main things that had me freaking out about it, and I really didn't understand why I should do it. So I talk all about that in the book, and then it's really a journaling book too, for you to decide if egg freezing is right for you, because it may not be right for everyone. So take a look at it. There's some free resources at that website, and you can just put in your email address and grab free resources. You don't have to get the book. So I would love to hear what you thought. Definitely post in the comments about why you think your life doesn't look exactly what you thought it would look like, both good and bad. We're just here to chat about it. So great. So stay tuned. I'm trying to go live every week, and I would love to see you guys sometimes. So pop on here and tell us your comments and thoughts, and I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.